Over a 3-month period, I was sleeping with 2 different guys, my ex-boyfriend and Mr. Molinax. Within like 3 months, I slept with them, both of them, about 50 to 60 times.
You had sex with both men in the same day, on the day you believe she was conceived. That's
Your
what
Honor?
we call a paternity issue.
Your-
Did you know that she was also seeing her ex at the same exact time she was dating you?
I had no clue.
She knows without a shadow of a doubt that you are her child's father. However, she says she was intimate with somebody else. Is that who you think her child's father is?
Yes, Your Honor.
We know that infidelity has the potential to disrupt relationships, and Ms. Walker, having admitted her out of the relationship, escaped, leaves her boyfriend grappling with uncertainty. He appreciates her honesty, but is left questioning whether her 13-month-old son is his own.
I've loved her since day one. We were working together, and I've just been with her since then.
I can see that that means something to you to hear that. It makes you emotional?
Yes.
Because you know he loves you very much.
Yes, Your Honor. I hate that we split ways. He was my soulmate.
And so there's a lot riding on today's results.
Yes, Your Honor.
Take me to the day you found out you were pregnant with Ben.
Ms. Walker spilled the tea. She's been in this on-again, off-again thing with Mr. Khan for 6 years. But surprise, there's another dude in the picture. Plot twist. But poor Ms. Walker, hopelessly hoping that Bentley's daddy is Mr. Khan.
I want the best for my son. He deserves the right to know. I feel that Jerry is the best choice.
So you are admitting that there are other possibilities.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Khan has developed a relationship with your son.
Yes, they have a very good bond. They're so good together. It makes me so happy to see them together, and Jerry deserves this more than anything.
Let's talk about relationships. Ms. Walker and Mr. Khan had their fair share of ups and downs. They split for 3 years, and Ms. Walker found out her other man was cheating. Classic drama movie, but soon she ran back to Mr. Khan. However, she was pregnant by then.
But you were also obviously sleeping with Mr. Khan because he wouldn't even be a possibility.
I found out the other man had been unfaithful, and then so I took off and I called Jerry, and he let me come stay with him, and that's when me and Mr. Khan hooked up.
So Mr. Khan, do you remember that weekend?
Well, if you had found out the other man was cheating, Ms. Walker, you were probably doing the same. Now isn't that a classic stage for some divine karma happening to you? Hey! Anyway, she decides to play a game of paternity roulette. Been with both men on the same day. Yeah, you heard it right.
Hospital, I was in a very emotional state of mind, and we hooked up, and then I found out my father passed and immediately went to his aid, or whenever I got back home, she wasn't there, so I just figured she went back to the other guy.
So you left again, Miss Walker?
Yes, Your Honor.
You say this was the love of your life, your soulmate, the other guy had cheated on you. What happens? Why you leave?
Now, we're getting into the feels. Mr. Khan was all emotional, claiming Bentley as the potential heir to his legacy. But Ms. Walker's got doubts and was playing the who's the daddy game. They were both hoping for a happily ever after, but you just can't deny the reality, can you?
Had sex with Mr. Khan that morning,
Yes, Your Honor.
but had sex with the other man that evening.
Yes, Your Honor. It's not something I'm proud of.
Whoa. So at what point do you tell Mr. Khan, I'm pregnant? Because at this point, we know what happened on that date.
Whenever I went to the doctor, when I found out the conception date, I wasn't exactly sure what day his father had passed away.
Both the plaintiff and the defendant had the last grain of hope remaining. They suspected Bentley might have scoliosis, and Mr. Khan was bullets, thinking he might have passed it down. But wait, we have Dr. Samantha for some clarification.
It shows us that 38% of those cases are inherited from a parent.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
That is huge.
That kind of lends itself to the potential that Mr. Khan could be Bentley's biological father, since he has the condition.
With that being said, we were at the climax. The DNA results were in the envelope, and the atmosphere got thick with anticipation. What's it going to be? Will Bentley officially be Mr. Khan's mini-me, or are we in for a paternity plot twist? Court was in session, and it was time for the truth bomb to drop.
Mr. Khan, you are not the father.
Okay, this is the result.
Ms. Johnson and her mom entered paternity court, alleging that the defendant had been a certified deadbeat dad. He never denied being the father of her baby, and everything seemed fine until 2 weeks ago when he suddenly insisted on a paternity test.
My son was over his house. He was only over there 5 days, and he texted me like, you need to get your son, and I'm not getting him until I get a blood test. Like,
Out of the blue?
out of the blue, yes. And I have here some evidence too.
What kind of evidence?
A message that I would
Jerome,
like
let
to
me
show
see
you.
this. So wait, out of the blue, you all are co-parenting this little boy. How old is Jaden? 2 years old, you're co-parenting him. Out of the blue, he said, come get your son?
Yes.
So, out of the blue, Mr. Taylor texts Ms. Johnson saying, "Get your son? I'm not keeping him until I get the DNA test done." And Jaden, the innocent 2-year-old, is caught in the middle of this Facebook soap opera. How about we ask the potential daddy for some clarification?
It was actually a week ago. Me and my son was in the house playing around. I was told someone was outside for me. I went outside. A girl told me she had something to tell me about my baby mother. She said Ms. Johnson told another girl that Jaden wasn't mine. So I inboxed Ms. Johnson and told her I don't want him another day.
But wait, Mr. Taylor didn't just step into the battle zone without any preparations. He also came along with evidence you wouldn't believe. How about you get a look into that before we move any further? Buckle up for some new type of confession.
I have actually
Can I?
I've never heard her say that. I've never heard her say that.
I actually has a recording saying she said he's not mine. If you can hand this up.
You have a recording?
Yes.
Oh, Jerome, let me hear that. Where is it, in the voicemails?
Yes.
So just hit play and I'll hear the voicemail.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
That's not your baby. That's not your baby. You right. That's not your baby. Somebody else the daddy.
Now we know where this whole case has been headed, right? Well, Ms. Johnson, you know you can't unring that bell in a man's head. Once you say this, talk about some instant karma happening to you. It's better time now you realize this.
You know that?
Yes.
I mean, you know, once you say that to a man, he's never gonna forget that. Men forget a lot of things, right, Jerome? But they don't forget that. And honestly, how could they? So you know you have a part to play in fueling this doubt, right, Ms. Johnson?
Yes. I do have one paper that I would like to show you.
I'd like to see that, Jerome. What is this evidence showing?
This is just basically his eczema that he had.
So, Ms. Johnson, you know that you have a part to play in fueling the doubts of the defendant. But anyway, to support her claim, Ms. Johnson pulls out a list of medical similarities that the child has in common with the defendant.
What is this evidence showing?
This is just basically his eczema that he has.
Okay, the child has eczema?
Yes.
Okay.
Heart murmur.
And a heart murmur, yes.
And a heart murmur.
If you look at...
Just like Mr. Taylor has.
And you believe that these are two medical issues that the child has in common with Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Well, now we have stepped into medical expertise. So how about we call in the professional to shed some light on the developing case of paternity? Let's just find out if these medical similarities are hereditary or not.
Is there a genetic link?
There is not a genetic link with heart murmurs. The majority of heart murmurs are innocent heart murmurs, meaning they're just changes in flow. They come on with either a newborn right at birth, or they have, in an adult, they have something to do with pregnancy or things like that. So heart murmurs, you know, for all of us that practice day in and day out, are not genetic.
Well, since now we have that part figured out, how about we focus on the DNA results? Because that's something which has a link with genes. So now here's Judge Lake wanting to take the curtain off from this mystery.
Mr. Taylor, you are the father.
Like I told you.
No. If you're not gonna, don't start that nonsense.
Thank you.
Don't start that nonsense.
Ms. Cates chimed in, giving her 2 cents to the court about how she and Mr. G hit it off at the club. Now, he's denying her 2-year-old son, Messiah, all because of a little white lie she told.
I was at the bar, we met through a mutual friend, and we just hit it off. When I seen him, I just thought that he was the most handsomest guy I ever seen on this word, but.
And so how soon after you met at the club did you start a sexual relationship?
That same night.
Okay, so did you start to develop feelings for her?
Of course. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah.
All right, you heard that part correctly, the same night. But wait, trouble in paradise. Mr. G started to catch those shady signs, like mysterious text messages. According to Mr. G, the baby mama wasn't all promiscuous until later in the relationship.
Yeah,
Whatever.
text messages in your phone too, like girls be calling you too. Don't do that. Like
I'm
you
about to be
well
calling
known,
you,
you
bro.
well known where we from, and girls be all over you. Come on.
Yeah, that's why you
you
trying to pin that baby on me, because I'm popping with this music stuff.
All right,
Oh,
all right, Kevin.
I'm hood famous.
All right,
You
whatever.
feel me? Like everybody in my city know me.
That's right. Mr. G thought Ms. Cates was playing him because he was hood famous. Ms. Cates denied it and blamed it on his popularity. Then Sis stepped in, claiming she saw Ms. Cates getting too cozy with other guys at the club. Talk about some real karma happening there.
And she'll be in the club with this guy, that guy, and it'd be too close for comfort. You're not finna be all in this guy every time I turn around, all in his face. It was more than just dancing and all the extra stuff. It was more than that.
No, how you weren't there, so hush.
It was more than that,
That's not what happened. And if I'm at the club, I'm gonna dance, I'm gonna socialize, because that's what you do at the club. I'm not gonna stand and hold up the wall. I don't do that.
Well, we might have a feeling here that the baby mama just got caught cheating on the defendant. However, Ms. Cates did admit to a white lie she was seeing someone else while dating Mr. G. Oh, the drama. She insists the night Messiah was conceived, she and Mr. G were all in, with no room for the other guy.
Mr. G, Miss Kate says she knows without a shadow of a doubt that you are her child's father. However, she says she was intimate with somebody else. Is that who you think her child's father is?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So wait, I want to understand this. So how did you get away with sleeping with 2 men at the same time? How did you keep each of them?
Okay, I stayed 2 hours away from him. So that's how that happened.
But at some point, Ms. Cates did drop the bomb claiming that she was pregnant, and that's where Mr. G's excitement goes on vacation. He doubts if he's the baby daddy, or did Ms. Cates inform the other guy?
Yeah, she lying like that.
Were you using protection with the other guy?
Yes.
Is you serious?
And why do you seem so sure she's lying, Mr. G?
If we wasn't messing around with a condom, I know she wasn't messing with him with no condom. Yeah.
So you said you two weren't using condoms. Why would she be using them with the other guy?
Correct. That don't even add
Good
up.
question.
Don't even add up. You meet a person that you really don't even know. You let them smash the first night. No condom, no nothing.
Mr. G, still unsure, talks about wanting a family for Messiah. Ms. Cates clarifies that she's still into Mr. G, but it's complicated. Yeah, right. We can see that, can't we? Anyway, here's the one last scoop on emotions.
Tell the other guy is non-existent right now.
Because once you had the magical fun night, you never slept with the other guy again.
Right.
Man, she lying.
You was there.
No way. There's just no way.
So Messiah's 2 years old now. What kind of relationship do you have with him, Mr. G?
I mean, it's an alright relationship. Sometimes it's like, we here.
So now it's time for Judge Lake to pull the curtain on the paternity triangle. It doesn't matter when you say she's lying, Mr. G. The one thing that matters to this courtroom is the DNA results. Let's see where to go from here.
Mr. G, you are not the father.
Told you so.
I'm sorry, Mr. G. I'm very sorry. I can see that hurt to hear.
Mr. Campbell was here to prove he was the daddy of a 3-year-old named Zoe. But hold up, Miss Hopper's been doing some flip-flopping about who Zoe's real father was. Talk about trying 2 scoops in a single cup.
Miss Hopper told you that you were the father.
Yes.
And then changed her mind.
Yes. Every time we get into a fight, all of a sudden I'm not the father anymore.
So when you're doing fine, you're the father.
Yeah.
Then when you get into an argument, you're not the father.
Yes.
Ms. Hopper, can you imagine the rush of emotions Mr. Campbell must have gone through? I mean, no doubt you are standing in paternity court. That's probably karma happening to you. Let's find out what she has to say about this.
So, Ms. Hopper?
I only told him there was a possibility. I've never told him that he was the father.
That's not true at all.
That is true. He knew that it was between him and my ex-boyfriend since she was like 6 months old.
Did she tell you from the beginning, Mr. Campbell, that it was you and possibly the ex-boyfriend?
No.
Mr. Campbell reveals why this DNA test was his only option. Being Zoe's dad is his ticket to righteousness. Like he's making better life choices because of her. But guess what? Ms. Hopper, being insensitive to the man's needs, removes her ex from the shadows.
I was actually seeing both of them at the same time. And
so this wasn't a cheating thing, this was a parallel thing.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, this is what we want, the truth. Go ahead.
And I just kind of thought maybe it was both of them. The day that they say she was conceived, I had seen both of them at the same time.
So, Ms. Hopper was playing a game of double dutch with her ex and Campbell at the same time. She confesses to seeing both guys on the same day Zoe was likely conceived. What a plot twist. Now it's a paternity roller coaster. Who's the real baby daddy?
They slept with you?
No.
Okay, so that's why we're here. How long did you continue this parallel affair?
For about a month, and then I was with my ex-boyfriend. He was pretty much there through the pregnancy. He was there.
Your ex-boyfriend?
Yes.
So he went to doctor's appointments?
Yeah. And I did give him her last name, and he is on the birth certificate.
Mr. Campbell's mom, Miss Joni, jumps into the ring with some Facebook receipts. She claims Miss Hopper messaged her, saying Campbell's the dad, but she's doing a 180, saying she only thought he might be the dad. You could have left the mother out of this mess at least.
She says, I'm Elaine, I'm Jason's ex. I'm the one who thinks he is the father of my child.
Oh, okay.
And I said, okay, nice to hear from you. And she said, thanks.
That was cordial, Mom.
We began to talk, and we had a conversation and everything, and I did ask her, I said, you really believe he is the father? And she said, my daughter looks like him. He is really the only possibility.
Things get confusing when Miss Hopper says Zoe used to look like Mr. Campbell, but now looks like her ex. What's the truth? Miss Hopper admits to some baby daddy flip-flopping, but it's all about the possibility. Hold on tight, because it's a wild ride of uncertainty.
Hopper, now, you just testified in court that you always maintained with Mr. Campbell that he was one of two options. Why would you tell his mother that he's the only possible father?
When I contacted her, I said I thought that he was the father. That's why I said
Well,
I
the
think.
message reads, my daughter looks like him. He is really the only possibility.
The moment of truth arrives. The DNA results are about to be revealed. Campbell's hoping he's Zoe's superhero, but we're on the edge of our seats. Let's see how these results turn out to be. The court is about to drop the bomb, and we're all ears, baby.
Mr. Campbell, you are not the father. I'm sorry. I know you really wanted to be her dad. Ms. Hopper, I wasn't sure where you were in this equation. I could never get a read, but I do see tears in your eyes in this moment. What are you feeling?
I don't know. I was kind of hoping that he was.
So, there's this wild episode on Paternity Court, right? We've got Ms. Barrett, preggo and clueless about who the baby daddy is. Classic, huh? She was pointing fingers at Mr. Mullinax, thinking he was the culprit for her unplanned parenthood.
Over a 3-month period, I was sleeping with 2 different guys, my ex-boyfriend and Mr. Mullinax. Within like 3 months, I slept with them, both of them, about 50 to 60 times.
50 to 60? 50 to 60 times each?
No, I was sleeping with Mr. Mullinax Thursday through Monday, and sleeping with my ex-boyfriend roughly Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Now, isn't that a beacon of honesty? Ms. Barrett also presented a conception calendar to the court. This woman claims she was juggling 2 dudes like it's a circus act. And here was the proof. Oh, boy. Talk about a busy schedule.
Ms. Barrett, this is the most symmetrical color block calendar I have ever seen in this courtroom.
If you look at that calendar, you'll see, I mean, it's clear. Me, him, him, me, him. There's no telling whose baby that is. She couldn't get off her back long enough to decide who she wanted her baby's daddy to be.
She then claims that Ms. Barrett was getting intimate with both men over 3 months and had those beautiful moments with Mr. Mullinax and her ex-boyfriend around 50 to 60 times each. It feels like someone has been keeping tabs and was aware of what they were doing.
No, I was sleeping with Mr. Mullinax Thursday through Monday, and sleeping with my ex-boyfriend roughly Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
On a weekly schedule?
Yes.
Okay, before I even get to that, take me back. How did you meet?
I met Mr. Mullinax through my ex-boyfriend.
But wait, it gets better. Ms. Barrett met Mr. Mullinax through her ex's family. Yeah, you heard it right. His current wife is somehow related to her ex. Small world, huh? Anyway, the plot thickens, and Mr. Mullinax thinks she's an airhead. Classy introduction, right?
How did this progress and you're married?
Well, me and my wife separated, and after we separated, that's when I began my relationship with her.
Okay.
I went over to her house. The first time I went over there, within 20 minutes, we were in the bedroom.
Okay, so you had sex right away?
Yes, the first time I actually met her, the guy she was dating showed me a bunch of pictures, of naked pictures she had sent him in the phone.
So Ms. Barrett, why try to pin the baby on Mr. Mullinax when you had a clear idea that there was another man involved, eh? Now that's a mystery only you can solve, considering the uncertainty surrounding your incarcerated ex-boyfriend as a potential father or the defendant being available.
Pretty much because he was available.
Listen,
because
Your Honor, she sent me a text and said she was pregnant. The next day she said she had a miscarriage, and then 2 days later she was pregnant
That is
again.
a lie.
So I've had doubts the whole time.
Yes, you did. You sent the text.
When her and I first got
No.
together, I saw multiple text messages in her phone from other guys talking about, when are you going to let me get another one of those world famous, her reputation around the city.
If this isn't karma, what else? With all those allegations and doubts in mind, when Mr. Mullinax came to know that Ms. Barrett was pregnant, he immediately denied the baby. Now, isn't that karma in the face of the plaintiff?
More than likely, I'm not the father.
The ratio.
Yeah, I mean, compared
You
to
did
her sleeping, how many guys?
mathematics?
Yes, ma'am, kind of, because I mean, if you're sleeping with so many people, how can you tell who the baby's dad is just by
But there were 2, she says, so that's math of 50-50, which is a great probability.
All right. With all the doubts and clarifications set down on the table, Judge Lake decides to pull out the concealed envelope, and with that, she also pulls out the fate of the child and the baby mama. Let's dive into the results and see what happens.
Mr. Mullinax, you are the father. Boy, if you don't get over there and at least see if she's okay and she's carrying your child over there crying, step over there.
Confused 26-year-old woman appeared in court to dismantle the paternity frauds laid by her mother. She was told her mama's ex, Mr. Long, was her real, but now she wanted some DNA proof while the mommy stood firm with her claim. Let's see how things go in this one.
Ms. Robinson, you're back in court today because you say your mother, Ms. Harms, has continued to commit paternity fraud. She's now claiming her ex-boyfriend, Mr. Long, is your biological father, but you believe she's lying.
Yes.
Ms. Harms, you say your daughter's suit has no merit, and today you will prove Mr. Long is her father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Robinson started the testimony by saying that she never got a straight answer about her father's identity. It had been a mix of 2 or 3 guys, however. The defendant refused to be painted as a villain.
Excuse me, Your Honor, that's a lie.
So
I've always told her who her father was.
No, you haven't.
I've always, and I never kept any secrets from you.
Mom, you never told me who my father was.
My mom kept secrets.
You gave me names of who could be my
I've
father.
always told you from birth, sweetheart, that who your
No,
dad
you did
was.
not, Mom.
Your Honor, she refuses to believe me, as like she did with Mr. Moore previously.
Plaintiff was told to express her feelings, and she said all her life she felt like there was a missing piece, but she promised herself that her kids wouldn't go through the same thing, and taunted Ms. Harms for being promiscuous. Hearing this, the big mama couldn't stop herself from arguing.
I'm not gonna sit there and let her say that about me. I'm
not
gonna get easy like that. What do you mean talk me out of my panties?
But you let people talk. You
don't act like you wasn't out there doing wrong yourself.
I never did wrong.
Okay?
I needed a father. When
Okay, but can I speak?
No, you're listening now. You're on listening
When me and you didn't have a good relationship, it would have been times where I wouldn't have went in my room and said, I hate my mom.
Miss Robinson continued that she was a famous athlete in her student era. She was a big deal, but at home still. She was alone and depressed. Oh, it sounds like a celebrity story, but all the pain is real. Then the judge asked the defendant to respond to her feelings.
Everything's, she acts like she's
I'm
my mom half the
giving
time.
you your
the
moment.
way she talks to me. Maybe she choose a better choice of words. Talking to me.
What? Because every time
Hold on, let her respond. Let her respond.
I would just
let her
ask
respond.
you, I would just ask you who my
See what
dad
I'm
is.
saying? I can never get a word in. The fact that she sits there and lies.
What
That-
lies
I
is
raised her.
she telling?
If I didn't raise her, she wouldn't have or be who she is today.
The mother-daughter duo was already broken, so the judge asked about their relationship, and the defendant said the plaintiff didn't let her meet the grandkids, which led to another brawl. As Big Mama said, she told her about Mr. Long, and he lived near them. But the poor girl asserted how a 10-year-old would do it all by herself, and the judge turned to Ms. Harms for the answer.
You act like you couldn't have went. I told you always knew who your dad was.
Where was I gonna
You knew
go
we were
at
in
10
Georgia.
years old?
Marietta, you knew he lived next door to the baby. I would go there and visit. I would knock on Mr. Long's door.
He would have saw
and
me
take
there.
her over there every time we went, every summer.
Miss Robinson, do you remember
knows
going to
that.
visit Mr. Long?
Never.
Mr. Long, do you remember Miss Harms bringing Miss Robinson to see you and saying this is your father?
No, ma'am.
Well, he straight away denied her claim. How much of an old brain you got, man? But then, Mr. Long said he believed about possible paternity because he had got a picture of the plaintiff from Ms. Harms, and the defendant cut him off and cried that she had sent 9 pictures of the baby. So the judge let him continue his testimony.
She sent me a picture when she was first born, a year after she
So
was
when
born.
she was first born, she sent you a picture.
Right.
So why does a woman send you a picture of a baby if she's not saying you the father?
Right, I didn't say she didn't say I wasn't the father. She said I was the father, but I had doubt because, you know, she was supposed to be sleeping with someone else.
The judge turned to Ms. Harms to reveal more, and she called him a double-faced liar for not owing up their meetups at his house. Then Mr. Long replied to the judge that he knew about the pregnancy, but he lost contact with her.
I kept it like that because my dad was like, me being young, oh, who's the dad? I'm gonna kill him. And I kept it to myself.
You, as a young girl, you were taking the baby over to his house, or you were sending these pictures, but this was all in secret.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you didn't want to tell your.
Oh my God.
You didn't want to tell your parents.
Told me that
I
he
told
was
my mother.
dad, Mom.
I kept it from my dad.
This poor woman's broken feelings got more strained because there weren't any strong clues from the alleged father, and she needed answers about her paternity today at all costs. So the judge moved forward to read the results.
Mr. Long, you are her father.
I told you I'm sorry. I told you I love you so much. Okay, go hug your dad. Okay, now you'll be a hole. You don't have a hole in your heart anymore.
A father brought his case looking for his long-lost daughter and hoped to finally be in her life. But the court found the alleged woman that could be his lost baby. Ms. Bond, on the other hand, didn't believe he was her daddy. But today's DNA results will put a stop to Mr. Jenkins's search.
Mr. Jenkins, you reached out to the court to open a case. You believe that you have a long-lost daughter and hope to one day find her to prove you are her father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So we've located the woman you believe is your daughter, and she's here in court today, but she does not believe you are her father. So Ron, can you please escort Ms. Bond into the courtroom?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defendant replied that she never heard of Mr. Jenkins in all her life, and none of the family members ever mentioned him, and he wasn't on the birth certificate. Okay, it started very rough here. Further, she explained her denial in court.
Never heard of him. No one has ever spoken of him. I've never seen any pictures. My mother never even spoke of him, brought him up in no conversations whatsoever.
So this is your birth certificate?
Yes, Your Honor.
And under father's legal name, nothing is recorded. But you were raised by a man that you believe, you were told was your biological father.
Yes, he died in a car accident in 1999 with my mother, and I believe that that was my father.
After Ms. Bond's testimony, the defendant explained that he had been on his search for 24 years and revealed that her mother was sexy as hell, and they were very happy with each other and talked about her pregnancy time.
Ms. Bond looked just like her. She ended up getting pregnant while we was living together.
Okay.
So during the times when we was living together, I was going to the doctor with her. I'd like to submit this here to the court, Your Honor.
Yes. Ron, can you hand me that evidence, please?
It's an ultrasound picture that I used to go to the hospital with her.
You did. So when you found out she was pregnant,
I was excited.
Judge asked defendant about her bringing up and replied that her maternal relative raised her, and the plaintiff admitted he knew someone was there for the baby. Things went smoothly till the judge asked about the poor girl's experiences being an orphan, and she broke down all her traumas and loneliness.
I felt alone. You know, I didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't have anyone. I lost my mother.
Take your time.
And my father, and I didn't have anybody. And I struggle, and I'm still struggling. I'm homeless. I'm trying to get my children. Cry myself to sleep every night because I don't have anyone.
Plaintiff said he tried to meet her, but every time doors were slammed at him and he showed the numbers he left for contact, but still no one helped him. While Ms. Bond said she never heard anything from him. He seems truthful by the pain in his words.
Outside people putting stuff in her head, turning her against me. The more I was trying to do things, we was both going to school.
I'm sorry, I still don't believe that's the reason to break up with someone, letting outside people get into your relationship. If you really loved her, you would have stayed, regardless of whatever was going on.
I did everything that I possibly could do. Matter of fact, she wanted to get married. She had asked my mother to marry me.
Judge asked him about the childbirth incident, and he said that he visited the baby later with his mother after 2 weeks. Then the defendant was asked about the birth picture, and she denied seeing it.
I lost contact, like I told you, after people got in her head, took her away from me. I went by there and left my phone number, and Xavier called me. And when she called me, I was excited. I was like, wow. Here I can get my girl. I can get my girl. I can see my baby now. I was just excited. And then I said, well, where are you?
You should have saw me regardless of whether or not she was in another relationship.
Judge had taken all the possible answers from both of them. Every argument of the plaintiff was a missing piece of the puzzle, but it was time to reveal the truth to the innocent girl and the stressed father with the DNA results.
Mr. Jenkins, you are her father.
24 years of doing footwork, and it paid off.
Yes,
Thank you, God. I love you. Paid off.
18 years of stress and pain brought this man to court to prove his ex the paternity of his young boy, Mr. McDonald, while Ms. Gooley not only denied it, but also admitted that she cheated on him during their relationship. The worst part of this story is that they both lost custody of their boy when he was just 1 year old.
Mr. Brooks, you summoned your ex-girlfriend, Ms. Gooley, to paternity court to prove that you are the father of her 18-year-old son, Mr. McDonald.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Gooley, you admit you cheated on Mr. Brooks all those years ago and are here today to prove to Mr. Brooks that he is not the father of your son.
Yes, Your Honor.
Plaintiff started the testimony. He thoroughly shared all the moments he experienced on the baby's birth and was sure he was the father because he was present there all the time. Then the judge asked Ms. Gooley about their relationship.
During the pregnancy, did you ever tell Mr. Brooks that he may not be the biological father?
No, Your Honor, I didn't.
You allowed him to believe that he was Mr. McDonald's biological father the entire pregnancy?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Why is that?
Because he wants to be there for my child, but he knew that there was another man that was at my house all the time.
Defendant continued talking about the other man and said she believed that he was the real father and also admitted that she wasn't faithful to Mr. Brooks at that time. Judge asked Daddy about the possible doubts, but he denied saying this.
One of the greatest days of my life when she told me she was pregnant. I just
wanted to be a great father. And I got pictures.
Let me see those pictures, please, sir. Jerome,
I've been having these pictures with me for 17 years. She don't have none. Matter of fact, I got about 60 pictures, and she's not in none of them.
These are pictures you've carried for 17 years,
Yes.
believing that you are Mr. McDonald's biological father.
Judge asked him how he lost the baby, and he told that Ms. Gooley called him to get the kids out of the house. And he did, but soon 3 police cars and DFCS pulled up. Ooh, I didn't see this coming. The incident got more serious when the defendant cut him off and revealed another twist in the story.
They told me they come to get the kids. You're not getting my kids.
They came and got the kids in the first place because Mr. Brooks is the one that called defects on me because he wanted to take my kids.
That's my family.
He
I'm gonna break my own family
take
up
my
for.
kids away from me. That's why
That's a lie.
defects was called. I know this for a fact because the lawyer that was representing my case told me.
Hey. Following their drug story, the plaintiff quickly blamed her, but the judge commented that still one of them should have been there for the kid. Yeah, she is right. Where was the other parent? Upon this, defendant jumped up and said,
Mr. Brooks, something had to be going on because if, in fact, Ms. Gooley was struggling at that time with drugs and the children could not be with her, if the child's biological father was present and able to take care of him,
He would not legitimize my child because, see, that's why I don't think he's the father. If he was the father, my mother was willing to pay for him to legitimize my son.
Then the judge asked him of the moments when he last saw his baby, and he said that 2 officers grabbed him away from the kid but didn't arrest him. Then the judge turned to the defendant and asked her about the time of revealing the other possibility, and she told this.
As soon as that baby came out my stomach, I looked at Fred, and the first thing out my mouth was, "Is he yours?"
You a lie.
In the hospital?
Before they even cut the cord.
You didn't say nothing.
Wait a minute. So when they pulled the baby, you looked at him and said, "Is he yours?"
Yes, I did.
You said that because what? You wanted him to look at the baby and see if he thought it looked like him?
Yes.
After this, Mr. McDonald was brought in, and the judge asked him some questions, and he said that he believed Mr. Brooks was his father. He also revealed that another man reached out to him and claimed his paternity. Upon this, judge again asked the defendant of her denial, and she gave this reason.
We were together for so long, and I never got pregnant before. I don't understand.
God said one time.
You know, and he's up here like he wants to be this great father and everything. He ain't done nothing for Demarion since Demarion's been back in our life. He ain't done nothing. He sitting up here like trying to fake the funk and stuff.
The young boy was sitting in the court with the hope to find his real father today. All 3 lives were hanging on a thread for so long, but it was time to read the results to settle things once and for all.
Mr. Brooks, you are his father.
All right. Thank you. It's my boy.
Young and stupid love life always haunts you back with your mistakes. In this case, Ms. Salvo wanted to prove the paternity of her daughter and wanted Mr. Gonzalez to be in the baby's life. On the other hand, he not only denied it, but believed that the plaintiff was very promiscuous and claimed that she slept with his best friend.
Ms. Salvo, you claim that around the time you conceived your 1-year-old daughter, Amaya, you carried on a sexual relationship with the defendant, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, Your Honor.
Today you say you desperately want to prove Mr. Gonzalez is her biological father because it will break your heart if she has to grow up without a dad.
Yes, Your Honor.
Plaintiff said he refused to take care of their daughter and claimed that she only slept with Mr. Gonzalez once and shared her interest in Black and Hispanic men. It was bold to reveal. Then the judge asked the defendant about their relationship.
So tell me about the nature of this relationship.
All right, I started off with her mom knew my mom. I knew Ashley. So we will go over, we'll drink, we'll watch movies and stuff. One thing led to another. We started kissing, we started touching on each other. We went to the room, we had sex. I was thirsty.
Did you use protection?
No, ma'am.
Ooh, that's a wild moment, but in your mom's house. After his statement, the plaintiff claimed that he lied about the number and admitted that she also was sleeping with her ex-boyfriend around the same time. Baby mama also shared that her daughter didn't resemble the ex, but with the defendant, and she proved it.
Mr. Gonzalez has a dimple.
Yes.
And here, Amaya, I see that one dimple. She's so cute. She's adorable.
Thank you.
So you believe this is the reason why she's ultimately his biological child?
If I had a picture of my current ex-boyfriend
boyfriend's kids, they have no type of resemblance. She looks nothing.
If the possibility had got cleared, then why was Mr. Gonzalez still in doubt? Well, it was just one fragment of the case, but the judge asked the defendant more about the doubts, and he didn't stop but had something else to entertain us.
My doubts is, I took my best friend over there to her house. 5 days later, I get in the car with my best friend. He's Hispanic, Puerto Rican. He tells me, I'm sorry, Julio, but I gotta show you something. I'm like, what you mean you gotta show me something? He showed me naked pictures of Ashley like this.
Your best friend had naked pictures of Miss Salva.
He's lying. Because one, I don't even send naked pictures.
It's freaky embarrassing to find this out from your friend. Hearing the story, the plaintiff quickly denied it and called him delusional. Judge again asked about his doubts, and he shared the sneaky actions of Ms. Salvo.
One night I was over there, and I got my hair done and everything. And she went out to the mall to, I don't know, supposedly go do something at the mall. She took hours and hours, and I'm like, I'm not just gonna sit here and keep waiting, you know, for somebody. I started walking home. She calls me and she asked me why I left, because I felt like I was getting played. The guy, he told me that he dropped her off in the motorcycle at the mall. And that's when I got up and left.
Then the plaintiff defended herself, saying she didn't want to ruin her friendship with him, and shared that her ex had helped her financially during pregnancy. Ms. Salvo further said she acted dumb at that age, and the defendant brought another doubted moment.
One night, and this is another doubt I got in my head. We're all hanging out next to my mama's house. We're eating, partying, having fun. This Mexican guy keep looking mad at me like he want to fight me or something. I asked, Ashley, why that guy so mad at me? Why he looked like he want to fight me? Oh, because he wanted to be the baby daddy, but I tell him you're the baby daddy.
It feels like she is not lying about that psycho. What do you think? After this, the judge asked the plaintiff about raising the kid, and she shared that her fiance had been helping her, and the defendant cut her off and bragged about his responsibilities.
When that baby was born, got her formula, diapers, baby carrier, crate, everything.
Excuse me.
What? A crate?
Excuse me.
A baby where the baby sleeps.
That's a bold-faced lie. First off, he has not came out of his pocket not one single time. Oh, let me take that back. He bought 2 itty-bitty toothbrushes and some toothpaste for my daughter. That's it.
Didn't need to know much after crib or cradle confusion, but still, she exposed him there. After the plaintiff's statement, the judge brought in her fiance, the real dad here, to ask him about the baby's duties.
I want Maya to be my daughter.
You do?
Yeah, I don't want her. It's not her fault she's here in this world. She's an innocent little girl. The baby used to come to my house. She used to eat in my house. My mom used to get her stuff, everything. I swear, my mom's not here, my mom passed away, but my mom was here, she'll tell you. My mom will feed her, my mom will get her everything. One day, because my mom didn't want to pay her phone bill, she started talking junk to my mom.
After lots of freaky and accusing statements, the judge was ready to call for results to reveal the paternity of the innocent baby. Moreover, she was relieved that both men on the podium will give their love to the baby, so the DNA test was read.
Mr. Gonzalez, you are not the father.
Excuse me, Your Honor. Can I still come around and see Amaya and help her out if I can? Because for a year and 4 or 5 months, she's been my daughter and she's still gonna be my daughter.
A disturbing marriage along with paternity doubts appeared in the court to find the identity of their son. Plaintiff shared that his wife admitted another possibility after 3 years of their baby's birth, and the defendant claimed that Mr. Pickett had also cheated with 8 women before.
Mr. Pickett, you claimed that when your son turned 3, that you may not be his biological father. Now, Ms. Pickett, you claim that you are not the only one to blame. You say Mr. Pickett has cheated on you with at least 8 women you know of.
Plaintiff said that after his vacation, he kept seeing the same guy around his wife's place a couple of times. Then she told him about the pregnancy. Upon confronting him, she denied it. Next, he talked about his other trip in detail.
Now, this extended vacation wound me up, ironically, with a friend of mine who was at my house before I had got out of the extended vacation the last time. In the back of my mind, I wish I could blow this little thought out.
So you're back together?
We back. It's cool. Swimming pools on the side of the house, everything's good. She denies. I ask her, she denies.
What do you ask her?
I'm asking her, is these my kids? Is this my son?
Then the plaintiff explained that he wanted to play his daddy duties, but suspicions stopped him, and the defendant agreed that she did him wrong by cheating, and Mr. Pickett cut her off, saying that his son's early birth created doubt.
I took all the blame. They said, if you're a real man, you will take the blame of your family being in any kind of disaster. Called on that phone. And mind you, when you're on that phone, everything you just, wait, be quiet, because you're on the phone. Hello, what y'all doing at the house? Who is that in the background? That's what you do on those extended vacations because you don't know what's going on.
So the wife admitted her mistake, but he still didn't believe her. But this lunatic man has all the talent in himself to tell his story. Then the plaintiff set the stage to explain how things went when she confronted him about her cheating.
After all this time, this is my
That's
exact...
how you did it?
I did just like this. And I was in short pants, because we were supposed to go swimming, and I just lost the whole swimming mode. I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And then I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Whoa. And then that was like his son, his father, his son. Because when I'm old and I need him, he'll be there for me. You know what I mean? I had him doing that. Everything, baseball, I had him doing all that stuff.
Then the plaintiff continued expressing his love for his son, and the judge asked Mrs. Pickett's feelings, and she shared her regretful thoughts, but he cut her off, saying that they still got back together. For further details about their case, the judge asked the defendant's witness to speak.
First of all, Brandon never forgave her for anything she's done. He loves his kids dearly. He wants to be with them all the time. He has them now, but he's never forgiven her. He's never given her a chance for anything. Like, she can't work, she can't social with people, she can't do nothing.
You saying he's controlling?
He's very controlling. He's very intimidating to her. That's why she's standing here quiet now. She can't come enjoy time with me. She can't be at my mom. She can't be nowhere without him wanting to know exactly what's going on.
A man obsessed with kids this much would surely be controlling. After the defendant shared the fear that he also doubted the baby she was carrying in her belly, the judge took over it and asked the plaintiff's comments on this one.
When I told you we had the swimming pool, we had the cars, we was working, I was there. Your Honor, I was there. There is a possibility. There's always a possibility for doubt, and there's always a possibility for it being for real. I laid down with this woman. I did. Passionate or however you want, I did all of that. Everything.
But you do that with a lot of women. You do that, you bring all this in her face all the time.
Then the judge asked about her hopes, and she shared that she wanted a divorce and was tired of the doubts in the relationship. She made the right decision for her life. But the judge asked about his thoughts, and he again started his melodrama.
I love my wife. I love this woman. I've done wrong. I really love her though. Like, it's dudes that be like, I love you, I love you. I know I cheated. I really love her, like rings and everything. Oh, we don't got no money? Oh, then I'm gonna go to work today. I apologize that we don't have no money.
Imagine that she also has thoughts in the back of her mind.
She got more than me.
She got vision.
So my thing is this, how much trust and how much can you just say, forget it?
After listening to both of them, the judge knew that there was still some hope to save this marriage even after all those doubts. What do you think about their future after the DNA outcome? Let's see the results.
Mr. Pickett, you are father.
Oh yeah. Well, I got something. Hold on.
Now you were about to get tackled by Jerome.
I seen it.
You
Don't beat
better
me
let
up. Don't
somebody
beat me
know
up.
you need to do a flip.
Ms. Lee has recently found out that the man that raised her isn't actually her father, and her real father is dead. Frances believes that Ms. Lee is her real sister, and now Ms. Lee is given the time to tell the courtroom that this is a tough position for her to be in, one in which she has to accept that she was raised by someone who isn't her father, but the idea of siblings does indeed intrigue her.
Finding out that your biological father could be a deceased man that you'll never be able to meet.
Well, Your Honor, from the beginning of this has been real confusing and overwhelming for me, mainly because I only knew one man to be my father my whole life until he died. I was a daddy's baby, and me and my father was very close.
Frances goes on to tell the courtroom how she was previously informed that Sonia died from AIDS, but her father did not believe this was the case on his deathbed. And as it turns out, Frances's sister Davis found Sonia.
We were informed that she had passed away, that she had she had been doing bad and she had AIDS and she passed away. And when I came and see my dad and I informed him, he said he had no recollection of it, he wasn't told, and he didn't believe it, so he wanted us to find her.
Ms. Lee starts telling the court on how she came in contact with Davis. Originally, she was ignoring her, but then, after a spam of messages, she spoke to Davis and was confused as to what Davis was talking about because she went from being one man's daughter to now someone else's daughter and being dead and in another man's obituary.
I didn't respond to the messages for a while, let me say that, because it didn't make sense to me. I didn't recognize her picture, I didn't recognize her name, and it was saying they were looking for their sister. And so at this point, I'm like, it can't be me. So I kept ignoring it. Maybe after 3 or 4 messages, I finally responded to where I responded to Miss Davis, and where we exchanged numbers and I called her and she just started spilling the story out, and it was like, whoa, wait a minute, slow down.
Ms. Lee is a little confused on how even after living in such a small town, she didn't know whether it was her real family or not. When she initially brought this to her mother outright refused it. Ms. Lee has some doubts, but ultimately, she is heartbroken on the childhood she missed out on.
I grew up in a small city, and then to be this close to my family and not know it did hurt me. Yes, I had a father, but if I had something, so I kind of had some resentment about that. You know, they knew about me, I didn't know about them. My mom knew, my dad knew, but nobody told me. And then even when I got old enough to understand and accept it, nobody told me.
Ms. Lee's mother explains to the court how she was involved romantically with Francis's father, but upon her being pregnant, Francis's father disappeared from her life. Mr. Lee, the man who brought Ms. Lee up, was with her during the time of the pregnancy and took care of them both. Did Ms. Lee have a right to know about this?
For Mrs. France. And when she was born, Mr. Lee was there with me, and he took care of me and her. Mr. Miller, I never saw him again. I never told her because I didn't think she needed to know.
All of these disasters have made Ms. Lee emotional. It looks like she might cry in court. She's uncertain if the truth is that she does have siblings, and she's unwilling to accept that truth until the DNA tests come back. She wants her children to have the opportunities that she didn't have, so long as the results do come back indicating that Francis and Davis are indeed her siblings.
Because
what are you scared of?
I'm scared both ways, I guess, because if it come back that it's not, it's gonna hurt me. Because I already have love for both of these women.
And we love you too. And we love you too.
I'm scared to embrace it because if it ain't real, and I'm scared to embrace it. So that's why it was so important for me to find out the truth. People will say, you know, well, why go through with it now? Y'all grown. We got kids.
Jerome hands Judge Lauren the envelope and a silence enters the courtroom. Will Ms. Lee find out whether she does indeed have siblings, or will this all be a facade built by Francis's father and a lie that will haunt Ms. Lee the rest of her life? It's time for the results.
Ms. Lee, they are indeed your biological brother and sister.
All right.
I told you.
He can rest and you can be happy.
Yeah, he can rest and you can be happy knowing that we are here. Okay?
Mr. Mason is uncertain about the paternity of 1-year-old Avery due to Ms. Malone's alleged infidelity. He had suspicions about her fidelity and set up a watchdog to monitor her activities while he was away, which unveiled men coming and going from their home. While Ms. Malone admits to cheating, she is confident that Mr. Mason is Avery's biological father.
Mr. Mason, you say today will determine the future of your relationship with the defendant, Ms. Malone. You say you lost all trust when you set up a watchdog to keep tabs on Ms. Malone and discovered that she had men coming in and out of the house while you were at work. And now you believe 1-year-old Avery is not your daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Mason and Ms. Malone, in an on and off relationship for 3 years, currently cohabit despite being off. Mason remains primarily for the children and hopes of reconciliation. The impending DNA results are crucial, as they not only dictate their relationship, but also their shared living situation.
Were you all
my
committed?
knowledge, we was in a relationship.
Your Honor,
still.
yeah, we've been on and off for 3 years now. Right now, we're off.
Are you living together?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're off, but you live together?
Yes, Your Honor. It's been like that.
How's that work?
It's real awkward.
After quickly moving in together post their meeting, Ms. Malone felt overwhelmed as her relationship with Mr. Mason intensified. Although initially unintended, their cohabitation soon led to a deeper relationship than she anticipated. Mr. Mason, suspecting Malone of deceit, employed a friend to monitor his front door, taking on a detective-like role.
Okay, you and your oh, he moved in.
Yes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So the bottom line is very quickly after you met, all of a sudden you were living together.
Yes, Your Honor.
So when you say, Ms. Malone, it all just happened so fast, and I was young, I was 19 years old, next thing you know, I'm kind of in this relationship with a guy, but once he's living with me, then it kind of turned into more of a relationship than you expected.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Malone admitted to not using protection during her affair, while also being intimate with Mr. Mason during the possible conception period. Upon learning she was pregnant, she informed both men of the possibility of them being the father. She claims to have disclosed the infidelity and its implications to Mr. Mason.
When you were out with this other person, was that during the window of conception?
Yes, Your Honor, it was.
It was. All right. Now, when you were cheating, did you all use protection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. When you cheated, did you also have an intimate relationship with Mr. Mason during the same window of conception?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Mason shared a memory of announcing Ms. Malone's pregnancy in front of others, suggesting doubt over Avery's paternity. In this public setting, he stated the child might not be his. Additionally, Ms. Malone presented a Facebook post where they conversed about their oldest and youngest child, further highlighting the contention surrounding Avery's paternity.
Mr. Mason, you are not her father. What are you feeling in this moment, sir?
I'm mad, Your Honor, but I can't be really mad about something that I already knew.
Miss White claims Mr. Flowers is the father of her 4-month-old Major and seeks 1846-54 for childcare expenses. She alleges buying all of Major's necessities, while Mr. Flowers returned the few items he purchased. Mr. Flowers doubts paternity, suggesting White is targeting anyone with money.
White, you say you have no doubt when it comes to who your 4-month-old child Major's biological father is, even though you were intimate with the neighborhood ice cream man during the window of conception. You are seeking a DNA test as well as $1,846.54 in child care expenses, correct?
Correct.
In an intense paternity court session, a woman was adamant about Mr. Flowers being the father due to their consistent unprotected sexual encounters. However, Mr. Flowers expressed doubt, mentioning their relationship lacked commitment, suggesting she might have other partners. When she informed him of her pregnancy, he apparently showed indifference.
Somewhat doubt, but with me and Mr. Flowers,
Somewhat doubt. Tell me why you believe he is.
because me and Mr. Flowers, that's all we did was have sex. You know, that was our relationship, was based on sex, unprotected sex at that. So.
And you were having sex with Mr. Flowers during the window of conception.
Yes.
Mr. Flowers recounted an incident when he spent the night at Miss White's place. She fell asleep, and he saw an explicit text message from another man on her phone, which deepened his doubts regarding the child's paternity. These messages reinforced his suspicion that another man, Mr. Miles, might be the father of Major.
Me and Miss White, we was kicking it, and I had spent the night over there. She fall asleep, text message come through. And man, I don't even know where to begin that, Judge. It get real explicit
and that's only
and
because he
everything,
wasn't
man.
around. He wasn't around.
I never said nothing to her neither, because I ain't the argumentative, fighting type of guy.
Miss White vehemently denies telling Mr. Miles he might be the father, but Mr. Miles contradicts her, recalling a conversation where she did insinuate he might be the father. Mr. Miles, already a father to 8 children, believes he can recognize his own features in his kids.
While you're telling Mr. Flowers he's the father, did you ever tell Mr. Miles he was the father too?
No.
Use a lot.
Mr. Miles?
No, I really didn't.
A lot.
I really did
What
not.
did she tell you, Mr. Miles?
Right. She had called me. We talked a little bit, and then she come talking about, yeah, it's possibly that Major could be your child. And I'm
So
like,
she told you?
Yeah.
Miss White's messages suggest she's seeking a father for her child who can provide financially. When confronted about the money-focused text, she clarifies she means someone present daily and also contributing financially. However, her explanations don't convince everyone, making her appear as if she's chasing after money.
First one says, LOL, you just don't know. My child got so many men willing to do your part. The next text says, my baby need a pops that's getting money on a daily.
I ain't no drug dealer, so I ain't getting money on the daily, man.
So when I text Mr. Flowers that my baby need a dad that's gonna be there, that's basically what I.
Whitfield confronts White, accusing her of being a homewrecker and disrupting her relationship with Mr. Miles. Miss White denies knowingly interfering in an existing relationship. The tension rises as Miss Whitfield claims that Miss White was aware of their relationship. The situation becomes even more complicated when Miss Whitfield reveals she found out about the baby through a mutual friend.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. Mr. Flowers.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank
you, Jesus.
I already knew that.
That's cool.
Ms. Whitfield and Mr. Miles, I know you are relieved.
Big relief.
$923.27.
I sure can.
Mr. Hoyer found out his father was allegedly killed, and he's in the courtroom today to prove to his father's deceased family, his sister, Ms. Potter, and his father's mother, Ms. Horn, that he is his father's son. Ms. Potter was told on her brother's passing that he has no son. Lastly, Ms. Gentry is present, who is Mr. Hoyer's mother, and is unsure as to who his father is.
Ms. Porter, you and your mother, Ms. Horn, who's joining us us from her hometown are adamant that Mr. Hoyer is not biologically part of your family.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim that before Mr. Horn passed away, he clearly stated that he had no children, and you believe today's DNA results will prove him right.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Hoyer explains, Mr. Horn is his father and his adopted brother lived next door to Mr. Horn's brother. And when he went to visit Mr. Horn's brother, the brother confirmed that there is a similarity in what Mr. Hoyer's hands look like to Mr. Horn's. But will Ms. Horn believe these assumptions?
Like, so you're my brother's son. I was like, I guess I am. I really don't know. He was like, well, let me see your hands. So I stuck my hands like this, and they looked at my hands. They were like, you do have our hands. Yeah, just small hands, but the long fingers. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, my brother had the same type of hands as you do. That actually got me excited for a brief minute, but there was others in the household that was like, you don't look like my brother.
Ms. Gentry goes on to tell the court on how her and Mr. Horn's relationship was a secret, and how after her son, Mr. Hoyer, was born, Mr. Horn had seen him one time. And the only reason for which her son did not have a relationship with Mr. Horn was due to the fact that her family was not accepting of biracial relationships. Ms. Potter, Mr. Horn's sister, does not believe a word of what Ms. Gentry has said.
So what you're saying is you were open and honest with your son that you had also been intimate with another man before Mr. Horn?
Yes. Yes, me and my sons talked about this.
So when you had your son, was Mr. Horn there? Was he involved with your son?
Yes, Mr. Horn seen my son one time.
Anyway, this family drama has turned into a huge disaster. Ms. Potter tells Ms. Gentry that if this case is true, and he really is her brother's son, she will get involved in his life and give him the care he's been lacking for the past 23 years of his life.
Oh, wait, coming back to that?
Yes, we're gonna go back to that. We're gonna go back to all of it, because we're gonna get the truth today.
Well, you know
today is the truth. And if he is, after 23 years, he won't have to deal with you. He won't have to deal with you.
Always be his
because
mother.
he will get what's coming to him.
Why not? I always be his mother.
You might always be the mother, but you're not a mama.
Mr. Horn feels happier knowing there is a place where he'd be accepted and wanted, and he's hopeful that Mr. Hoyer was indeed his father. Judge Lauren has reminded him that he indeed does deserve this type of love, and the results have now come into the courtroom.
As it pertains to the likelihood of whether Mr. James Horn is your biological father, the DNA test results have determined that Mr. Horn is not likely your biological father.
See, son, you shouldn't have done this.
No, you shouldn't have done this.
Ms. Smith is concerned about who her 4-month-old's father is. It could either be her fiancé, Mr. Brooker, or her ex-boyfriend. The defendant is confused because when she started seeing her fiancé, she had recently broken up with her ex-boyfriend, and a month after having sex with Mr. Brooker, she was pregnant.
So, Ms. Smith, explain to the court why your fiancé may not be your child's biological father.
Well, Your Honor, me and Lamontre met back in college last year, but at that time I was with my ex-boyfriend, so I knew I couldn't talk to Mr. Brooker. So when me and my ex-boyfriend ended up breaking up, I talked to Lamontre and I invited him to my birthday party.
Mr. Brooker gives his perspective on the situation and how when he found out Mrs. Smith was 6 weeks pregnant instead of 8, and that hurt him. And then she was open in her conversation with him with regards to this situation, and that the only 2 people possible to be her baby's father is either him or her ex-boyfriend.
And I was like, okay, and I'm laying down, and she said, I just went to the doctor and I found out I was 6 weeks instead of 8. And I'm like, my heart dropped. I was like, oh my God. So I was like, okay, cool. All right. So we got him in person. We talked about it. She said it may be a possibility. She was sure of who it was. And we were the only, me and her ex were the only 2 dudes that she was with during the time.
Ms. Smith brings out a calendar to show her timeline of being sexually active and even provides evidence in the courtroom, which indicate that in her first 2 doctor appointments, the date she's given aligns with the time during she was with her ex. But the 3rd appointment, that's when disaster happened.
I was stating that me and Mr. Brooker had sex August on the 14th. And then that's when I went to the doctor again on the 24th, and they gave me a date of May 13th. And at that time, I'm like, that
corresponds with the time me and him started having sex.
The court calls upon a doctor to understand this discrepancy, as Ms. Smith's child was not only born premature, but the birth dates she was provided with are a month apart. The doctor explains that the original due date was a potential one, and since her periods are irregular, provided due dates can be irregular. However, the date given after the ultrasound is the most accurate one.
So Dr. Gator, as you can see, on July 17th is the last time Ms. Smith was intimate with her ex.
Yes.
Now, on August 14th was when she was intimate with Mr. Brooker.
Correct.
First due date she got was April 9th.
Yes, correct.
The second one, 7 weeks later, was the date. How can that happen, and why does that happen?
It actually happens more often than you would think.
Mr. Brooker brings to notice how upon the birth of his alleged child, he was very confused, and so he used a DNA test provided by his cousin on the child, whilst the child was in the NIC unit due to being born prematurely.
I know you're happy that the baby's here, but I can imagine you were thinking in your mind, now what date does this go with?
That, and is he okay? And it was a lot going through my mind.
I could imagine. So now you really are like, I gotta have a DNA test.
Correct.
And so what do?
Well, my cousin bought a test for me. I took it there to the hospital.
So your cousin brought an at-home DNA test.
Yes, ma'am.
The at-home test has proven otherwise, but Mr. Brooker is determined in his belief that the child is indeed his, and he just wants the DNA test to prove so as well. And Ms. Smith believes in her heart, too, that Mr. Brooker is the father. All that's left is for the judge to read out the results in front of her.
Mr. Brooker, you are not his father. I'm sorry to have to deliver that news.
It's okay.
Ms. Smith, what are you feeling right now?
That was not what I was hoping.
It's all right, baby.